passage to the United States or Palestine on one of the ships that sailed from the neutral port, or for the super-rich via the Azores on the Pan-American Boeing Clipper flying boat service to New York. Most refugees, however, had to wait months or even years in the city before securing their onward passage. On the run from the Germans since the fall of France in the summer of 1940, many of the refugees survived on a clandestine network of financial and organizational support, which originated from the offices of wealthy American Jews in New York City. The not-so-fortunate had to rely on the limited help from the British, the Portuguese authorities, and locally run rescue organizations. Allied and German agents operated openly in the city and monitored every move of the enemy. Their role was to log enemy shipping movements in and around the busy deep-water port of Lisbon, to spread propaganda, and to disrupt the supply of vital goods to the enemy. Among the agents who visited Lisbon was a young Ian Fleming, busy devising Operation GoldenEye and playing blackjack at the Estoril Casino, a location that was to later provide the inspiration for a James Bond film. The Iberian desk of the British Special Operations Executive, SOE, was led by the brilliant spy chief and traitor Kim Philby, who controlled the British agents operating in the city from London. The writers Graham Greene and Malcolm Muggeridge worked at the same desk as Philby, before Muggeridge was briefly posted to Lisbon and eventually onto the Portuguese colonies. As the British and German agents watched each other, their movements were in turn shadowed and recorded by Captain Agostinho Lourenço's Portuguese secret police, the Polícia de Vigilância e Defesa do Estado, PVDE. Lourenço's reports and decisions determined which espionage activities in the city the authorities tolerated and which they did not. As a number of British, German, and Italian secret agents and journalists, including the local correspondent of the London Times, found to their cost, if you tried to cross Captain Lourenço, your stay in Portugal was severely shortened. Lisbon was also the end of the line for escaped Allied prisoners of war, POWs, who arrived in the city to be flown back to England on the 3 times per week BOAC-operated flights from Lisbon to Whitchurch, near Bristol. The passenger lists of the flights were a who's who of the senior network of British spies in the city, as well as shadowy Allied industrialists involved in the trade war with the Germans. Competition for places on the planes was strong, with various British agencies fighting for the limited number of seats. There were also instances when wealthy members of Lisbon's large Anglo community were caught trying to use the service to transport their maids down to Lisbon. The much-loved British Hollywood actor and star of Gone with the Wind, Leslie Howard, would fatefully take one of those flights. Allied and Axis agents operated at the airport 24 hours a day, bribing local customs officials to gain access to the cargo and passenger lists of the enemy. Both BOAC and Lufthansa operated flights out of the city's airport, with their aircraft parked almost next to one another on the tarmac. Writing in 1944, the chief BOAC operations officer in the city described the daily scene at Lisbon's airport as being like the movie Casablanca, but 20-fold. During the hours of darkness, Lisbon Airport was highly susceptible to mist from the river, which added to its atmospheric mystery. Central to the story of Lisbon is the Portuguese leader, António de Oliveira Salazar, who had come to power with the establishment of the Estado Novo in 1932. For Salazar, World War II presented a potentially lethal challenge to his regime and to Portugal in general. Such was the concentration that Salazar devoted to steering Portugal through the war that, in addition to serving as Prime Minister for the duration of the war, he also served as Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of War, Minister of the Interior, and for the first part of the war, Minister of Finance. Salazar viewed it as his personal mission and challenge to prevent Portugal from being dragged into the war and repeating the mistakes of World War I. Salazar believed that World War II brought 2 major threats to Portugal: a potential